Ready for action.
All right, we good to go? Solid. All right, man. Joel, appreciate it for coming, bro.
Absolutely.
Glad to have you on the show, man. I've been waiting to talk to you because you and I, every time we talk, always have crazy conversations about the market. And not just the market, but other stuff,
Everything,
too.
yep.
So, good to have you on, man.
A lot of good viewpoints. Thanks for having me, my guy. Appreciate it.
Yeah, how's everything going right now? I mean, not business-wise, but just life-wise. You know, how you been?
Just life. Oof, man, so many things. Life has been moving really fast this last 1 year. Moved into a new house, got married, and then settling in, running a business at the same time.
Yep.
Investing in other businesses, buying houses. It's a lot of things, but it keeps me occupied, keeps me busy. And I like being busy. You know, I feel like life has a purpose when you're busy. You're working towards something.
Yep, couldn't agree more, bro.
Yeah, it's been good.
How's married life? How's the change? Is it like change? Did you guys live together before?
We did live together a while before, but the change is really coming home early, you know, being considered a lot more, you know, always considering for the, you know, making sure her time is I make time for her on a weekly basis, you know, 2-3 days over the week together, you know, have something to do, a lot more things, but you know, we've been together 6 years, so it's been kind of, you know, she's kind of used to my schedule, so it's an easier transition. A lot of other. Yeah, blessed, man. A lot of things last 5 years looking in, even being here, meeting you. A lot of it has to do with, you know, being in mortgage and people.
Yep.
So can't be any happier.
Yeah.
I remember you telling me about this last time we had lunch, and you know, I was like, man, go ahead and do it. You know, go through with it, and that's the biggest thing. You know, until you take the next step and feel it, you just it's easy, very easy to talk about, because I meet people every day and I hear ideas being thrown at on a daily basis, and it's easy to say things, but it's
100%.
it's a whole nother level to take the next step and like execute on your ideas. And I really, you know, appreciate you for
thank you, brother. I
and
appreciate
you know,
it.
it's a very unique concept, playing chess.
Yeah.
And you know, every
Even though
time
I'm not good at it.
No, you're
Probably
pretty good
because
from
of it,
everything I
fuck it, I'm
heard.
gonna do it anyway. Shit.
Exactly. But you know, that's the whole thing, you know, finding something different. You know, you don't want to be a follower. Set your own trail, you know, set your own path. And even when you told me, I was like, man, that's a very, you know, creative idea, because no one, you're doing something different, and it's something I personally enjoy myself, you know.
That's good.
You know,
like I told you earlier, you might be the first guest that actually plays chess. Everyone else didn't play chess, so when I whooped their ass, I felt like guilty. You know, I felt like a pain go through my heart. Like, I shouldn't be doing this. This is like bullying. So, you know, this would be a good game. I feel like our game will be challenging.
Yeah, for sure. You know, it's been a while since I played. You know, we talked about it, but I never actually got it because it takes time, and usually I don't really go through with it. But you know, I've played it quite a bit growing up, so I think I can at least give you a good shot.
I'm fucking ready, man. Whenever we get to the game, it's gonna be fun, bro. I'm excited to do it. But I appreciate what you said, man. I'm not looking at this like a business either. So for me, this kind of concept is more just a creation of mine. You know, I told you earlier in the kitchen, like it's time for me, and it should have been time years ago. I think I'm still late to the game, but in today's age, being able to create something is what sets you apart from just the regular run-of-the-mill Joe. And I don't want to be a regular run-of-the-mill Joe. I feel like I have more potential than that. And so I wanted to start something and just conversating. And like I told you earlier, like the art of conversation is kind of lost nowadays. Goes back to what you were saying about how easily accessible entertainment is nowadays. So people don't even feel the need to have to talk to people anymore. Now it's just, I'll just be on my phone. I'll just watch videos. I'll just, you know, text people. It's not even
constantly.
Yeah, even texting is kind of like it's a takeaway from reality for me, just because face-to-face communication is kind of the old tried and true way of just being able to connect to someone. When you take that away and dilute it further, it just isn't the same.
It went from face-to-face to calling people to texting. It's like,
I don't even know. I don't know what's next. Like, you'll have someone hired to talk to people for you.
Telekinesis.
Be like, hey, tell them what I said.
Start reading your mind. Yeah. It's got to be But I mean, the show itself, you know, it's a lot more powerful than you think. You know, that's the thing you know, on the way here, I was listening to the episode before me with Corey that you had with Corey, and a lot of things, you know, that you guys were talking about, bots and like automation and stuff. It's something I personally was looking for my own company.
Yeah.
After this, like I told you already, I got to, set up a meeting with Corey and discuss these things. And that's basically what I'm saying. It's like something you started for fun. It ended up being something bigger than what it is.
Helping people. Exactly.
Exactly. And now, Corey was someone I would have never met if it wasn't for this podcast and if it was for you. So it's a bigger platform. It's a bigger media, or it's a bigger thing than what you wanted it to be, or ultimately what it is right now. But the goal, that's kind of what you're creating, right? You created something out of nothing and you came up with this idea, and now it just did something bigger for both me and Corey and all of us, right? So that's respect on.
Appreciate it, man. Yeah, it's little things like that really make this. Bro, when I told you, so the story I told you recently last week, when that young guy who's in the Kana community reached out to me about Corey and said, hey, I'm looking for a job in this space, can you connect us? That shit made me so happy, just seeing a message like that, because I connected it with my creation led to this connection, which potentially could lead to this kid having an internship for the summer.
Even something bigger than that. You never know what he's going to turn into. It can change his entire life with this one thing.
Exactly.
And more than that, it's like you appreciate people actually listening to what you did, and that feeling that, oh man, there are people out there actually listening to me. That's a great feeling. Even when I started doing it, it's like whatever you do, it's like it's a gratifying feeling knowing that people appreciate what you did, or even building my company, right? When people reach out to me on a daily basis, I heard about you from someone else. They're like, man, I can't believe that one person went out there and told them to, recommended me as an option to another client. And it's a extremely gratifying feeling. It's one of those things, like until you feel it, you can't appreciate how great it feels.
Yeah.
And, that's why I'm very big on appreciating people. When I see something that's commendable, I make sure they get their respect for it. And this is one of those things, I know I could have reached out to Corey myself, but that's not the same. I got to make sure I give you that respect for what you did. And, having that idea, bringing him in and like talking about it. And that's when I'm like, because it wasn't something I had in mind before, but it's like when I was listening to it, I was like, man, he was talking about scraping, and he was talking about taking the whole StockX analogy that he brought in. I was like, man, I can use that to my advantage, because we deal with mortgage interest rates on a daily basis, which is fluctuating just as like a stock price, right? So we have a platform. We work with 20 different lenders, 30 different lenders. Every lender has their own platform that has their own interest rates. And if we can have a baby bot that can scrape the data and compare different rates, and then based on each client scenario, it can automate the process of
real-time information,
real-time interest rates. So that would take away probably 15% of my daily work, where I have to go in and give clients an interest rate. Now I can automate the entire 15% of job, and that frees me up to do a lot more things, right? So it's like, it wasn't something I had in mind, but listening to him explaining his business, listening to you asking him all the right questions, that just popped up in my head. And I was like, man, I got to talk to you about that, and I got to connect about that, because that might be something, because the mortgage industry itself, in my opinion, is very old school, outdated. And
do you think that might be because when you find something that works, you don't need to change it?
Yeah, exactly. A lot of boomer ideas, right? Like mortgage itself is like a boomer idea, and it never got upgraded. Like a lot of things in mortgage. And prime example is, I went through UT Business School, finance. You never learn about mortgage a single day through college, because it is not a concept that's been, mainstreamed or anything at all. Even when I was in financial sector, and everything you do in mortgage has to do with finance in general. And you learn about a lot of different, not platforms, but sectors in finance, going through UT Finance, Macombs, but you never one day they talked about mortgage. Growing out of graduating college, I never knew what mortgage was. Everyone's basic idea of mortgage is you go to a bank, you get approved for a mortgage. Yeah. Right.
I didn't even know what the fuck that meant either.
Yeah.
Until
exactly.
I got a house. Then I was like, okay, so this is a mortgage.
Exactly.
To me, it's like, okay, this is a car note for my house. Now, like, because I knew what a car note was, I didn't know what a fucking mortgage was.
It's
so
completely
when I learned it,
different.
I was like, oh, so it's a car note for my house. Okay, that's not what I knew a mortgage to be.
But even getting a mortgage is completely different from getting a car note. Because car notes, you just go to the dealership, they basically set you up. There's no separate industry for car notes. Like Capital One does, credit unions do car notes, but the concept of mortgage is very outdated in the way they think. Like the platform, the softwares we use, when I got into it, I was using a software that is not even compatible with Macs. Like you cannot use a MacBook if you want to do the software. And I was like, wow, like we're still.
And that was like 3 years ago?
This is 6 years ago. And I was just like, wow. And I used it until like 4 years ago. And I was just like, first 3 years of my life, mortgage life, I was doing it, and I was just like, dude, this is so outdated. And like it was so lagging, and it was like so old. Like it was a software you have to download on your computer, and you have to. It's not one of those like web interface or nothing like that.
Yeah,
so old school. Not even compatible with Mac. It's just like, man, like once you see it, you'll see what I'm saying. And I was just like, man, this cannot be the future of mortgage. And everything in mortgage industry, like the people that does mortgage, you will see a lot more people are in the 40s and 50s versus coming out of college.
You mean like loan officers, mortgage officers, everybody?
Processors, closers. Okay. Most people that are in the mortgage sector in general, or at least when I first got into it, were all like over 45 or 50, and like there's no young. You
know why I think that is because the allure of being a realtor is what is drawing young people. Like everyone thinks realtor is the way you're gonna make money as any kind of. Being in the industry of real estate, I should be a realtor. That's how I'm gonna make the most money.
Because it's a lot more flashy on social media. But man, it's like a million.
Can make so much fucking money.
Because a million realtors out there, and a fraction of like less than 10,000 loan officers out there. And realtors is like, you're not selling anything, or you're not doing anything that, if you're really good at it, you can probably find some off-market deals or deals that someone else cannot negotiate down. But ultimately it's like everyone's kind of going to this couple of websites like MLS and like finding the right houses for you, versus a mortgage, it's a lot more to offer, because you're selling, you're trying to find them a better interest rate than what your competitors can do. And it's so much in that industry itself, because there's so many, like there's a retail mortgage lenders, there are banks that offer rates, there are brokers that does it. So everyone has different rates and different products. Who would you say has the most
advantage, probably, like in the space? I would say banks, right? Because they have the most money to throw at someone.
Well, you would think so, but from that's kind of what I made me get into mortgage, was trying to understand different sectors inside the mortgage industry itself, and trying to find that niche where I thought was the most beneficial. And, to me, it was like a no-brainer when I started comparing pros and cons. So everything I do, I try to make my decision in life with the pros and cons. And, when I try to explain my life story of how I got into it, you will see there's a lot of, points in my life where do I go work for a bank, take that guaranteed salary? Do I bet on myself? And then you try to basically take the pros and cons of every decision you make, and whatever happens, my whole thing in life is that you do that, you think about it, and you make the decision in life, and whatever happens with your decision, live with it, right? You got to be able to be content to live with your decision, because you cannot go back and doubt yourself for what you did. As long as you thought about it, you made you did the pros and cons, and feel like you made the right decision in life. You cannot live in your life like a hindsight, because then everything in your life you start doubting yourself. And big. Then it's huge, man, because once you start doubting yourself at everything you do, then you're like, man, every decision you make, am I making the right decision? It kind of like messes with your head big time. So, we
were talking about this earlier, actually, before you had pulled up. Me and Mike went to go get food, and one of the things we were talking about was just, you can't live life regretting your decisions, or you have to learn as a man. I think this is important for men more than women. For men, you have to be okay with an outcome, whether it's a good outcome or a bad outcome of all your decisions. That's the hardest part for us to learn if we don't have, people in our life to teach us that at an early age. Is as a man, you got to be able to condition yourself to be okay with every outcome. Because once you can get to that point mentally where Doesn't matter what the fuck happens. Doesn't matter what the hell
I'll figure it
issue is. Could be any number of scenarios.
Right.
As a man, you have to be able to be okay with any fucking outcome, and then you move on from it and move on with it.
Deal with it.
You don't just leave it in the past. You don't just like regret, cry over it. You take it, you move on with it, with the knowledge of what you learn from it, good or bad. Like, that's the hardest thing for us to learn, but that's the most powerful thing for us to learn.
Absolutely.
Moving on with any outcome of any move we make. Doesn't fucking matter what it is.
Whatever results are, have to be able to figure out the next step. From, even if you make a bad decision, don't dwell in your mistakes, and either you win or you learn. That's the way you always see everything in life. It's like, I've made several bad decisions down the throughout the 6 years of running a business, because especially when you're young and you're getting into it for the first time, you're not going to make every single decision right, but it's all about learning from the mistakes you made and make sure you improve from it, or make sure that doesn't happen in the future. So anytime you go through a scenario, you see how it plays out, then you have that knowledge for the rest of your life. And it's all about accruing knowledge, and we're all so young that whatever we learn now, whatever we do now, it's all stepping stones for whatever we do in the future, and it's only going to help us the more we've done something. And now, in everything in life, I've seen it personally play out in life. When you make a bad decision, you learn from it. There will be another instance in the future, the same exact scenario plays out, and you're better because of what you've been through. And now you're making the right decisions, and you've seen that play out in your life. And that's why I always tell everyone, like, believe in whatever you do. Don't doubt yourself. And whatever happens, as long as you made sure you did your homework and due diligence and before you made your decision, you got to be able to live with it. And even if you made a mistake, you got to figure out the next step and move on from it and be okay with your decision.
Yeah.
It's very powerful. And
if we learn that as a society, if 90% of men could adopt that, I feel like we'd have flying cars already. Like, we'd have fucking hoverboards and shit. Like, men would be making a huge difference, but everyone's so caught up, and not everyone, but a lot of people and a lot of young men are struggling with confidence right now at an all-time high. I think I just see it in the kids nowadays. That's why they're so focused on watching someone else, because they don't want to look at themselves. They'd rather turn on their phone, watch an entertainer, watch a creator, and just veg their life away watching them, because they're doing something with their life. But when a young man wants to then take a step away and look at their own life, they feel discouraged. They feel like, I'm nothing. I'm nothing. Exactly. Whereas you need to start doing shit to try and build something. And it's not going to be easy. Like you said, you're going to have mistakes. You're going to fall along the way. You're going to fail. But that's what makes you stronger. Like, you have to go through shit to become a strong man, in my opinion. I don't think people have an easy life for strong men.
Nope.
I don't know any strong men in my life that went through an easy life. My father's a strong man. He didn't have an easy life.
No one.
All my uncles that, are building something with themselves, they didn't have an easy life. They lived in India for most of their life, which is not fucking anything fun. It's village life over there. You got fucking cows walking in the streets. You got dust everywhere. No fucking windows, bro. That shit.
No AC out there, man.
I went to India,
power goes out. You're like, yo, power goes out and people just sit in the dark for 30 minutes. And it's like a daily thing. That's what blew my mind when I went out there for the first time. Like, because you weren't born there? No, I was born in Muscat, Middle East. I was in Muscat, and I went out to India, and I was just like, people just take 30-minute break where they just sit in darkness because it's just power goes out on a daily basis. And I was like, yo, what? You just sit here in darkness for 30 minutes?
See, that I could take. What I can't take is they don't have no fucking windows, bro. I'm like, put a glass pane on your shit. I'm tired of having fucking lizards crawling, and I see lizards crawling around the walls and shit.
Tiny holes in the top, bro, so that's how they get crawling inside the house.
I'm like, we got neighbors now. Are we hosting these motherfuckers now too? Like, I remember
lifestyle is completely different. Mentality is different. What they live on a day-to-day basis is completely different. And that's where, like, I appreciate the most about my parents coming here, giving us all this opportunity to even be where we are, right? Because none of us, like, we have all these ideas and everything we've been able to do. Ultimately, it comes down to the fact that
they provided for us.
They gave us this opportunity to be in this country. And I 100%, a lot of times, when I have these arguments with my parents about things and things we don't agree on, a lot of things, some of like their viewpoint about church and religion is a lot different from mine. it's really all about, bottom line is that, none of these viewpoints I have, none of these mindsets I have, anything I've done in my life, none of this would have been possible if they never gave me this opportunity to come out here, right? So ultimately, you got to give them respect for that, and
100%, bro. And most of them have went through a lot to get here.
Man. It wasn't some of those stories and things you hear, you're just like, God damn, glad I didn't have to live through that,
bro. Straight up. Did you hear about the sponsorship program? So I don't know how your parents got here, but the way ours worked. So my mom had an aunt, Lila Auntie, that's her name. She was the first one to come to America. She had to go through all the hard shit to get here. She got here to America. She was living in Chicago. She became a sponsor for everyone else. So she had to basically be the ground zero and anchor for everyone else to kind of be able to come to the country on my mom's side. And it was hard, bro. It wasn't easy. Like, they had to do a lot of paperwork. Some people got denied. Some people had to find a job here before they could even come here. She had to go through a lot because she couldn't do anything. She had to stay and be there ready to be their sponsor.
Right.
And they did all that shit just for us to have a better life, because they were all old by the time they did it. They're in their 20s, maybe 30s at some point.
Too late for them. Exactly. But they knew it for the next generation. For the next
generation, exactly.
Because it's like, even when they come here, it's not like every single person out there coming from there is going to get the job what they did out there, right? So it's like a whole nother country, whole nother language, and then it's like a whole nother career. You have to come up now. You have to find a new career in life, and you're in your 30s or 40s at that time, learning a whole new language, learning a whole new culture. It's a huge transition for them, but because of them is ultimately.
Straight up. Did your parents ever teach you Malayalam, like growing up?
Yeah, I mean, I learned it, and then I wasn't, and then I got a lot better after I got a mortgage. Realized the need of being multilingual. Like being able to communicate with people. Ultimately,
well, in this state, you probably should learn Spanish more than Malayalam.
And at this point, I'm like, I would rather just hire someone that speaks Spanish and have them communicate for me, because I went through Spanish in high school and stuff.
Didn't learn shit.
Because that's the thing. I did not appreciate education as much as I should have. Now, the hindsight is one of those biggest regrets. Is trying to take the easy route in high school through college. Trying to, if I can cheat, get, not study for it as much and just by hearted, and like copy some of my homework from my friends. Like, I didn't appreciate the fact that I'm learning knowledge, I'm gaining knowledge when I'm doing things. If I get to take an easy way, like, cheating, best example, like cheating out my buddies of a homework, right? We all basically take turns and one person doing homework one week, and then everyone else copies of him. And then next person does it, right? So it's basically, I mean, I could have done a lot more, but then it's like things would not have played out the way it did if I had done better in college. Sure, so everything in life happens for a reason.
100%.
I was a big believer of that, man. Life principles, you got to set your life principle. You got to set your life goals. One of those things, principles, I believe in everything in life happens for a reason. So don't ever, look down, or don't ever give up in life thinking because, there is a hurdle in life, or because setback is there in your life, this is it. This is the end of the world. I fucked up. Life is over. That should never be your mentality, man. It's like, that's my whole thing, is like, everything in life happens for a reason. So, just be like, hey, if this shit happened the way I did not expect it to work out, it's okay, man. There's a reason behind it. It's nothing I could have controlled, because before I made the decision to do this, it was because of everything pros and cons I weighed on myself. Now this is what happened. I got, this is it. I got to work with it and make the best out of it.
100%, bro. When I see people I care about in my life that have reaction like that, like overreact to a situation where something goes bad, I'm like, stop being fucking dramatic. Get off your ass. I'm tired of being nice. That's another thing I've learned recently in my formative years as a 20-year-old, or in my 20s. You can't be nice to the people you care about.
Nope.
You think early in your years, you're supposed to be like, I should be caring, I should be empathetic. Fuck that. If you really care about them, you have to be fucking real with them and brutally, like, sometimes I'm an asshole honest. To the people I care about. I'm like, no, you're being a bitch right now. You need to get off your ass, stop crying, because you have plenty of potential to go fucking fix your mistake or go and learn from your mistake. I don't want to see you sitting here crying and bitching about the world and how the man is after you and all this bullshit. Get the fuck off your ass and go make it happen. Like, That's what you have to do for the people you care about. I've learned that recently. Like, you gotta be brutal, and if they are meant to be in your life, they'll appreciate it and they'll stay in your life. If they're not meant to be in your life, they'll run away from you. They'll be like, "Fuck this guy, he's an asshole." Then fuck you too. Like,
right? At least you did your part. You can live with yourself for that. And man, I'm very big. I can 100% agree to that. Everything you just said, and my buddies will say that because I'm very big on keeping my circle small. I keep my buddies. I've grown up my entire life, since 10th grade of high school, right? I bet my lifelong friends, I would like to be most of them at that age, and I've stuck with them throughout the times. And I'm very brutally honest. If I see something I don't like, or if I feel like they're going down the path, and one of obviously one of them, we all my buddies know, and it's like when I can see him getting into like what he shouldn't get into, and I'm like, man, I can either sit here and cut him off and like let him go down the path and learn himself, or I can be brutally honest about it. I'm like, man, if you're gonna do it, I'm gonna have to. I cannot see you around like that. It's like, you're doing that. That's it. We cannot be friends anymore, man. Because that's it. Because I'm very brutally honest about if I don't appreciate what you're doing, or if I feel like you're not doing the most with your life, or you're going down the wrong path, I'd rather tell you something and it's either you cut me off or you change. And It's one of those things, and I'm okay with living with that. Because last thing I would want to see is someone going down the wrong path and costing them their lives, and then me sitting back and be like, man, I should have said something. I could have said, and it's happened before, and that's also happened before. And I'm like, man, I could have done something to save his life, and I couldn't. I didn't, because I sat back and said, it's okay. He will figure it out himself. And ever since that happened, and I'm very big on speaking my mind. And if you don't appreciate, and if you don't see what I'm having to say to you, and how much, and I'll do everything I can to make you change your life, financially, like career-wise, like whatever I can do to change your life, I'll do it. But if you don't see it, if you don't see what I have to offer, and if you feel like I'm just calling you out just to like make fun of you, if that's what you see out of me and you want to cut me off, that's okay. That's the decision you made. I can live with what I did.
Yep.
And and something happens to you, whatever happens to you, that's on you at that point. My morals are good. Yeah. And that's my whole thing, is like, if you sit back and let your people you care about do whatever they want, and especially when they're going down the wrong path and you don't do anything about it, man, there will be times in the life in your future where you're like, man, I could have done something and I could have helped this guy. Yeah. And it's too late at that point, and that you got to live with that rest of your life, and that's big, man. That's going to weigh down.
Yeah, and once you learn, I think that's what you should be doing to the people you care about in your life. You'll start to see who you really need to be around and who you don't need to be around. Because I've done that. I would say the last couple of years, I've gotten more confident in myself to be able to start approaching my friends and people I call my friends to say like, nah, fuck that, don't do that, or no, you don't do this. Right. Like, I'm the enforcer in our group. Like, when in my friend group, I'm the one that goes and enforces shit. Like, we were at New Year's, right? It was a New Year's party. My friends, we were all there. My close group of friends, my Indian boys, them, like, of course. And so we went to the club. We had a section, and one of my friends' exes showed up and was talking to him, and I'm confused because they just broken up. And I'm looking around. I'm asking, and people are looking. My other friends are looking at me too. They're like, "What the fuck is this? Why is she here?" And so I go up to my friends and I ask, "Does he want her here? Is this okay? Like, is he okay with this? Does he want her here?" They're like, "I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think she should be here. Hey, someone kick her out. Someone kick her out." So I go up to him and I'm saying, "You want her here? Do you?" I just lean in his ear because she's right in front. I'm just like, "Do you want her here? Are you guys broken up? What's the deal?" And he said, "We're broken up." I'm like, "Okay, do you want her here?" He's like, "Nah, not really." So I'm like, "Okay, you need to get the fuck out." No one else wanted to step the fuck up and do shit because I don't play. I'm like, if you're my friend, I got you. I'll take care of it so you don't have to look like an asshole. I don't care. I'm like, get the fuck out. She gets all pissed and shit at me. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Like, go. Like, y'all broke up, right? Yeah. Bounce. The only problem with that is my boy ends up with her at the end of the night on the dance floor, kissing her and shit. I'm like, so you made me look like an asshole for no reason. That, like, it's a little thing, but when I see little things like that, it makes me question, my people. I'm like, man, you put me in a situation to step up, and I was willing to be the bad guy, but now you made me look like the bad guy for absolutely no reason. Now it just looks like me being a bad guy just to be a bad guy, not for your sake, because you went and, hooked up with her. And so when I see my people doing that, people I consider my friends, it's hard because even at some moments I should call him out on that, right? Like even that I should call out my boy and be like, yo, the fuck is this? Why'd you do that? Like, why'd you make me look like an asshole? And you need to clear this up now. Like I really don't care what she thinks about me, but at the same time, if she's going and telling other girls, or other people this is how he is, that's gonna make me look bad just in a general sense. And that's on you, dog. Yeah. Exactly, that's on you because I was doing it for your sake.
Right.
But things like that makes me question. Like, am I really going to be okay with certain behaviors like that with people I consider my close circle? Should I be okay with certain behaviors like that? Don't know the answer yet because I'm sure there's certain things where I should be more lenient, certain things where I should be like, nah, fuck that, that's unacceptable.
The bottom line on that is not that like the worst case scenario out of that situation itself is not too bad.
Yeah,
exactly. It's like the girl thinks I'm an asshole, fuck it, I can live with that, right? So that situation, yeah, sure, because the bottom line, like the worst case isn't nothing that costs you anything. It's okay, but I would definitely not appreciate if my buddy, like I'm like, yo, if you want to be with her, then don't make me look like the bad guy, right? Mm-hmm. You do your thing. I'm okay with it. I can care less if that's what you wanted. But then don't me trying to get your back, me trying to have your back, and you don't want to make me look like the bad guy. Think before you talk. That's my whole thing. Is if you're gonna do that, you gotta think before you talk. If you say you don't want her to be here, then you better you either stick to it, at least for the sake of me, because I'm the one that stepped up to her and be like, yo, get the fuck out of here. Now don't be like, yo, let me go back and talk to her and make out with her on the dance floor. Mm-hmm. Now I look like the asshole.
Exactly.
You look like the good guy. I mean, if that was your intention and you got something out of it, sure.
I'll take the for you. Yeah. Fuck it. Like I'm your boy.
Right.
But
exactly.
Fuck you, dog.
Exactly. At least you would be man enough to come and talk to me about it and give me what I did for you. At least appreciate what I did. As long as because the boys, we do things like that for our boys. At the end of the day, I can care less if you got some out of it and I look like that. So it's okay. One time thing, I'm okay. But bigger decisions in life, right? You got it. When you're stepping up for somebody, you better make sure that person is, whatever you're doing for is worth it, right? Because ultimately, it's not worth being the bad guy for someone that doesn't think you're
a big situation.
Yeah,
too.
A bigger situation.
Yeah. Okay, fine, we can let it slide. But a big situation, how do I know that that's not going to reflect your behavior when we're in a serious situation?
Not, right? Exactly.
I would think that if someone is able to handle a little situation, it should show that they're able to handle a bigger situation.
Women involved, the situations get a little, murky, and women makes everything a little murkier.
Men's biggest
weakness, right?
Everything that has to do with troubles of men usually stems from a woman, bro. Yep. It's always that, man. That's why I'm happy for you that you found like the one for you, bro.
That's when you find, you got to trust who you got to trust your instincts, and when you find something good, don't go after chasing something better. Mm-hmm. And that's the biggest mistake a lot of men make, is they have something good and they be like, man, I think I can find something better, and you don't see the good in what you have, and that can cause a downfall, or your mentality gets skewed anytime women are involved. And that's why I always say you got to be with someone long enough to know if that's a person you want to be with long term. You got to be okay with living with them, and that's more than hanging out with any person in life. Is like until you live with somebody, you don't really know who they truly are. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing I tell everyone, before you get married, if you can live with someone to know what they are, it really gives you a whole nother perspective of the person, and you will know if you watch it, that's a person you want to be with long term.
And you got to be brutally honest, especially brutally honest with your woman. That's a lot of mistake that men make when they get comfortable, is they stop speaking their mind, stop being vocal about things they don't like. I'm not like that. If I don't like something, she's going to know right away, and I'm going to tell her in a brutally honest way. Yeah. I don't like that. And if you can't change it, it's going to become a problem. Like, I'll give chances because I'm trying to work on being more, giving more chances. But,
and if you're going to be that way, the only thing I say is got to be a two-way street, and you got to be able to take it when she takes it to you. And you cannot be the person that be like, I got to tell you everything you need to change, but I'm not going to take anything back. Mm-hmm. That's never going to work in a relationship, right? If you're going to be that brutally honest,
got to be able to take it.
Yeah, you got to be able to take it back when she's going to be brutally honest with you.
Yeah.
And you got to be able to make those changes in life, because, it's very hard to find someone you want to be with and like live with together long term and not see it as a two-way street, right? So, I always say it's like when we talk about and things that we could have done better or changed about, it's like it's both ways. It's never that I tell someone change everything about them, but then they cannot tell me back what to change. And I'm very honest with my employees, my coworkers, my peers, everyone I say, it's like, I'll be very honest and straight upfront with you. And if you see something that I need to change, be the same way with me. I'm okay with it. And that's one of the biggest things my coworkers, I would say, appreciate about me the most is like it's an open door. If you see something I said that you don't like, or the way I'm doing something you don't appreciate, or you see there's a better way of doing it, there's nothing that stops you from coming and talk to me about it. And I'll kind of balance my ideas or how I came up with the thought process to you, and you tell me what you have to say. And, it's that only makes things better. And my whole thing is conversation only makes things better if you see it as a constructive conversation to improve yourself, right? You don't take anything in a negative way. When someone tell you, hey, you could have done this better, and I'm like, oh man, that's a good idea, or I'm like, is that the right way of thinking, right? Because you got to analyze everything you hear. Because
even they could be giving you wrong criticism, as much as you should. I agree with you. You shouldn't take it negatively, but you should think about it and then reflect on it and see if they're right. Like, okay, is he seeing what I'm doing right, and is he right, and I need to change the way I'm doing it, or was he seeing it wrong? Was his perspective of what I did wrong that he thinks wrong? What I did is something that needs advice when it really doesn't, because he's seeing it the wrong way.
But then I should have the freedom to tell you why my thought process is right. Or I'll be like, hey, this is what I was thinking when I was doing it, right? And I'll tell you, hey, when I tell you my viewpoint, then you have to be able to take it and be like, was he right or was I? Like, you got to be able to analyze everything, and then we can kind of bounce ideas. And ultimately, that only helps, because maybe 80% of what I did was right, 20% was wrong. Because that's the whole thing, right? You cannot. It's not always just yes or no thing kind of things. A lot of things are like you're 80% right, 20% wrong. But it's all about you changing that 20%, so the next time you do the same thing, you're 100% right? Yeah. So that's the way you make yourself a better person. That's the way you improve yourself in life and in career. Anything you do is like, you might be 80% right, but there might be 20% wrong about you, even when you think you're 100% right? So if you can change that 20%, then next person or the other person that look at you that thinks you're wrong, they might have a better viewpoint of you, because now you changed that small part of it that they thought wasn't good, they didn't agree with, kind of thing.
Yeah,
so
that's why it's so important. You got to have a good circle around you, because even the dynamic you mentioned, like coworkers or your employees and stuff like that, there's still a dynamic there that will, in a lot of the senses, kind of delay or hamper what they're willing to tell you, just because you're their boss, you're the CEO. When you have peers, you have your boys, or you have brothers, or you have family members or friends, whatever it is, that are your tight circle, that are doing things with their lives, that you guys are on the same wave. I'm working towards something, I'm building something, I'm doing this. Those are the motherfuckers I'll tell you the real honest, this is where you were 80% wrong, or 80% right and 20% wrong. Because there won't be that dynamic that would hinder them from giving you the full unfiltered truth. Because your employees and stuff will be like, in a polite way, I'm going to try and...
some of them, right? I mean, there's... and that's one thing, other thing I appreciate about Vietnamese people a lot too, is I have a lot of employees, and they give it to you a straight shot. They're like, hey man, this is because I mean, we have a system of like hierarchy, right? So it's like me, and then there's like the pipeline manager, processing managers that comes into place. So it's like, hey, like one of my employees, she's very cutthroat. She'll be like, hey man, I don't appreciate doing it this way. This is my viewpoint. And you got to be open to conversation. She know I'm always open to conversations, and we are able to bounce ideas off, and it always works out to where, it refines our thoughts. It refines the way I do something, and refines the way she does something. And we're always able to come into a middle ground, or agree on which way is the right way of doing it. As long as you have employees like that enables you, and as long as you enable them with freedom to talk their mind, you see that changing the way they think and how open they are and things like that. And a lot of it has to do with enabling, versus if I was running a company and I'm like, I sit around as a boss and like, everyone's scared of me and things like that, the dynamics of the office is very different. They will never speak their mind. They're like, yo, if I speak my mind, I'm gonna get fired. Why would I fucking do that, right? Exactly. So there's a culture you built at the office, and like one of my best friends also works with me, right? So Nigel, because of that, a lot of people have the freedom to also kind of, it's kind of like my personality and his is completely different. So his is more friendlier, like especially in the office setting, because I'm very busy, I'm very stressed on a daily basis, versus he's a little bit more, connecting with the coworkers and like able to like be like on a friendlier, because he can talk to them about their personal lives and things like that in a different way. So they can open up to him if they're having an issue at work or things like that too. Yeah. So building the dynamics, building that environment at work where they can, freely speak their mind if they're having an issue or if they see something that can be better. And like, enabling that, I always tell them, just because you said something to me that I don't agree with doesn't mean that I'm going to, completely look down on you or like hate you or fire you. I'm always willing to talk about it and, figure out how I can be better, because most times I work with people that are older than me, right? So it's a different dynamics, and they're also not used to someone younger than them
in a position of leadership.
Exactly. So and as long as you embrace it and as long as you do it in a way that benefits you and benefits them, and it's all about understanding, talking about it. Most times the fit becomes everything, right? And it wasn't easy, right? So it took me 6 years to get to a situation where I have these people, or 5 years, I would say, since I started the company. But until you find these people, and I went through the struggle of having people like don't see eye to eye with. I've had terrible employees that I've even had a guy from in the Indian culture, in a community itself, that played me, and it was just like, because I was so desperate for help last year when it comes to because I was getting married and I'm moving into a new house, engagement, a lot of things, right? And it's like, I don't have that much time to commit to the office. And I was like, I need help. And I was just like willing to take someone on. But, if their mindset, if the mentality was just to like, just learn whatever they can off of me and start their own stuff. And that's where you can trust the wrong people. And they play you and you're like, man, what did I get myself into? Right. And then, those things again is like stepping stones in life, learning lessons in life that I don't just like give, say, I just like think all negative about me because I made one bad decision, because I knew what it took, what made me, because I always think about pros and cons, and I knew that was a con that I was scared of at that time when I hired the person. But ultimately I did it because I was so desperate for help, and I knew I couldn't.
That's when manipulators usually attack. That's what makes them good. A good manipulator will try to manipulate when you're desperate or in a situation where you need something. That's when they come in and dig their roots in.
It happens, and then soon you learn it, you cut it off, and then you live with the results, right? So I cut it off. Took 3 months I wasted on it, and it's like, and it basically turned into something bigger than it should have been. But ultimately, I don't just because of one bad decision, I just don't like dwell on it and give up on it. You move on, you learn from it, and then you deal with the consequences that come out of it, and you be better because of the next time you ever have to go through something like that, you'll be better because of what you went through, right? So, and the next time I went through a hiring process, I kind of felt the need of like make sure that mistake doesn't happen again. And, and that, I was kind of upfront with that stuff with the next set of employees I hired. I was like, hey man, like ever since that, I'm like, you got to prove it to me before you earn a bonus or you earn the higher salary that you want it to be. You have 3 months, and as long as you prove it, I'll give it to you, and I'm okay with it because of what happened.
So you use that 3 month window as a marker now for future employees.
Yeah, like, you have 3 months to show me what's up. At least give me a month, and I gotta see improvement, or I gotta see what you can, because when we do interviews and stuff, I always ask salary expectations, and I always start at a slightly lower amount, and I be like, hey man, and I'll have it in the offer letter too, and I'm like, hey, if you, it wouldn't be like that, but it would be like, we'll have performance metrics, which is agreed upon ahead of time. And then we'll have these metrics that you got to meet. And as long as you can meet it within the next 30 to 60 days, you can get what you want or whatever salary expectations that you have. But because I've went through so many employees, and I even tell them, it's like, it's not because nothing to do with you, it's because of what I've seen. Because it's very easy to finesse an employer during your interview, because you can, that's one thing I've seen a lot is like being
guilty of that myself. I am guilty of that. I don't know. I always told people when I was in college and then when I got out of college, just give me the interview. That's what I always told people. I didn't care what the position was. I'm like, get me the interview, sit me down in front of them, give me a day to do some research. I will more than likely get that next step in the intern or the interview. I'll get the second interview, or I'll get the offer. Just give me the fucking interview, because once I know a little bit, I can bullshit. And learn a little bit. I hope whoever's watching this, I'm not saying I'm bullshitting for your company. I'm just saying
your boss better not watch this.
I'm just saying once you kind of have, you don't even have to be the greatest, but once you have a little bit of skill and communication, you're able to. You land an interview, you can make it work. You can work magic in there.
You can get through a lot of interviews, but when it comes to the technical side of things, if your job is technical, that's where it hurts you, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You cannot, if your job is sales, or if your job is development, or like talking to people, you can always learn that on the fly. But if your job is a technical matter that takes you to, know the guidelines and be able to figure out solutions, that finesse job, that ends right there. Exactly. And that's where, I've always had the issues is like, when I see the technical, and to me, that's, so another sidetrack of that is that makes it, as an employer also, that's where you can be a great employer if you have the technical knowledge, right? If you're a salesperson that doesn't have the technical side of the whatever industry you're in, there's a ceiling on which you can get because you depend on everyone else for the technical side. And that's one thing I noticed when I first got into mortgage with my boss. Like when I didn't just get my license and started my own company, right? I worked at a couple of places and I was like, when the boss doesn't have the technical knowledge, it's an entirely different dynamics in the office versus an employer that knows the technical side of things.
He ain't gonna take no shit.
Because when someone's bullshitting, I can look at someone's work and call it out for what it is. Versus, if I don't have that technical knowledge, I'll just be like, oh, whatever they did is right because I don't know any better because I'm just looking at what they did. And that's where, the sidetrack to it again is like Elon, right? That's a guy I always look up a lot of things too. And I was like, because he has a technical knowledge of everything he does, or most of the things he does, that's what in my opinion, that makes him a very good, leader, is the fact that he knows a lot of the, coding and AI stuff, and even someone that had no background in aeronautical engineering to build a spaceship to be better than NASA, that takes a whole lot of
expertise,
knowledge, reading. Even if you do all of that, a normal person cannot do it because
it's the same thing with Mark Cuban. He learned how to code and learn tech, and then he started the tech company. So
that's another very impressive.
You don't take no shit from when it comes to tech.
When you have the technical knowledge with the sales personality, or the personality to be a leader, it sky's the limit, right? So those are the people that you see are way better leaders than someone that just have the technical knowledge, or just have the sales knowledge, or just have the leadership skills, because you kind of need all of it to become the ideal leader for any kind of business. So, and that's kind of what motivated me to like learn the basics, learn the technical side of things, how to process a loan, how to get a mortgage from the beginning, like the time you talk to a client all the way to the closing, right? And then you learn the guidelines of, because everything in mortgage is based on guidelines. Everything you do in mortgage has a reason why. So like a lot of things, people be like, why do I have to send this? Why do I have to do this? Right? And you can, as a loan officer, you can just be like, man, underwriter just asked me. I don't know why the underwriter is tripping. They shouldn't be asking this. You can just blame the underwriter. And then client be like, man, I should have never done it with this guy. He works with someone that doesn't know what they're doing. They just have all these negative mentality about you. Versus if you know the guideline, if you know why they're asking certain things, then when the client asks, why do I need to provide this document? Then you can be like, this is the reason why, because this is a guideline everyone in the entire state, in the entire country has to follow. And, being able to go that extra mile and explain why you're doing certain things to clients, they appreciate, more than that, they understand what they're doing. Now they be like, okay, I'm okay with, providing that document because this is a reason why, and I cannot provide explanation. I haven't done that part of the, puzzle. And they'd be like, okay, I have to do that regardless of who I do the mortgage with, right? So they understand why they're doing it, and they'd be okay with giving the document. So their mentality, perspective on, or the company or the mortgage itself is completely different because you're educating them why they're doing certain things versus, and that's the two approach I've seen, in my previous jobs since when I worked at places. Like some people just be like, oh man, it's so frustrating. I don't know why they're asking it. It's so stupid. They shouldn't be asking it. like in reality, because they know, because the person that's saying it doesn't know why they're asking for it. That's why they're saying the stupid answer like that.
Yeah.
So on the client's perspective, they're like, well, this guy, he also agreed with what I'm thinking, which is that this is dumb. So the underwriter is dumb, the lender is dumb. They don't know what they're doing, and they were like, this mortgage itself is dumb because they're all asking dumb things that I don't need to be doing in the first place. So your entire perspective of mortgage is completely changing because you didn't know why they're asking what they asked you for, right? Mm-hmm. And that's my biggest thing is I teach all my employees, and I always make them sit when I talk to clients and like explain things, or I always CC them on emails, because when they ask questions, because clients, especially the clients we deal with a lot of IT clients, like a lot of people that actually very well qualified clients, and they're very smart people. They have very valid questions that most people are not able to answer, and that's what I see on a daily basis is like clients that ask very knowledgeable questions. And the only way you can answer these questions is if you can really understand the process of a mortgage. So if I'm just sitting there, underwriter doesn't know what they're doing, this is how it is always done in mortgage. Those are not the answers they're looking for, because it's not really answering the question.
That's not going to make them trust you either.
Yeah, they're just like, all right, whatever. Know what
he's talking about.
Yeah,
he just doesn't want to give me an answer.
Yeah, and then I just become the guy that's just like, I just have the best rates. And then there's nothing more that I'm like, my service itself, my value itself is just the guy that has the best rate, right? That like, I don't want to be just that person. Well, that's something we offer.
You're known as that person a lot. I'm not gonna lie.
But it's not just that. It's like I also bring a value in a lot of other ways. It's at the same time, the reason we have the best rates is because I'm able to partner with so many other lenders and promise them, hey, I can guarantee I'll bring this kind of volume to you if you were to partner with me. So you got to give me something better than what you give another person that does 1 or 2 loans a month.
Yeah.
Right. So that's part of it. That's kind of the reason why we have the best rates. But for the people to like refer me to because there's other companies that does it because all they do is just become they cut their compensation in half, and they become value or discount brokers or something, where they just make like $500, $1,000, but they have no value to offer. They cannot answer any of your questions. They don't reply to any of your calls. They just selling rates. Versus what I do is what I enable my employees or coworkers to do is that I teach them how to say, hey, this is how you answer this question from a client. You're educating the borrower, educating the next person in line, like loan officer. We have 35 loan officers that work with us, and they all basically sell mortgage, and they bring in clients. Yeah. And a lot of times their clients ask them questions they're not able to answer, but they basically forward those emails to me, and I'll be like, I'll show them, this is how you answer this question. So the next time the client asks you the question, I'm expecting you to kind of have an answer similar to what I'm saying, right? So it's about educating the loan officers, educating the clients. And once they have an understanding of what they're getting into, then it's a lot easier to like, they appreciate what you're doing for them. They're very happy with the service. And now they tell everyone they know, hey, if you're in the mortgage, don't even bother looking for a lender. This is a guy, he can give you the best rates. He can answer all your questions. And whatever something curveball that comes your way during your mortgage process, he can take care of it. So it's like people don't need that. Trust is a whole nother way, versus you're like, oh, this is a mortgage discount shop that can get you the best rate, but if something goes wrong, you're fucked.
I think a lot of that has to do with the client too, because most people, I would say, don't dabble in the details with anything usually, right? Not just mortgage, but just in life in general. When you have a contract, how many people actually sit and read the contract, right? So for them to really understand the full value of what you offer really depends on the client. Do they want to explore that? Do they want to know? Yes. Because otherwise, most people are coming, I just need a mortgage, I know the general sense of what a mortgage is. They don't care to learn anymore. So what rate can you offer me? Because that's how a lot of people are.
And that works in a lot of communities outside of the IT community, right? So those are the clients you see where that ask the most amount of questions, like medical professionals. They ask the least amount of questions, right? They're just like, here's my stuff. You make it happen. I just look at the bottom line. I get my, I look at the numbers and, make sure you have the best numbers. And make sure my things get done on time, because they don't really, they might have obviously a few questions in here and there. They don't get into the details of every dollar in the transaction. But when you get into the IT clients, the clients that make that has really good credit, and a lot of it is like Well, yeah, a lot of, Asian Indian clients that you see, it is like, they want to make sure they want to understand where every dollar is going to, right? And that's where Asian communities where you see the most. Yeah, exactly. It's all about saving money. And
we got to know everything.
Exactly. And I appreciate it because I kind of myself grew up, I taught myself a lot of financial literacy, financial principles that way, where if I'm spending $1, I better know what I'm spending it for. Yep. And I make sure it's spent the right way. Because we have that financial knowledge, I appreciate when a client asks me like the very detailed questions. Hey, what is this for? What is there a different way I can do it? Because then I can kind of like show my expertise a lot better, because these are all things I've thought about in myself, because I don't just preach it. I practice what I preach. I get mortgages. I believe in not buying houses in cash. I believe in buying, only way you can grow yourself is like if you get mortgages and get loans and keep your asset and like buy more assets and, put less down payment and things like that. Right.
So how would you say that started for you, the financial literacy? Because personally, it's been a struggle. It wasn't until recently where I started actually budgeting. It wasn't until recently where I actually started trying to track my money. It wasn't something that was ingrained in me from a young age. So for you, when did that start where you were like, okay, I gotta watch my money, and I really need to watch my money?
And that's a great question, man, because I give a lot of my success to this, and everything started with my parents, right? So when my parents first came in when I was in sixth grade, summer after sixth grade, right? So I came here
from the Middle East.
Yeah. So I grew up in Middle East, second, third grade over there. Went to India, lived there for 2 years, 2.5 years. Came here. My parents here didn't come here with a lot of money or nothing like that. So they came here with very little money, and they 100% trusted me to kind of run their finances. So they
at sixth grade.
Yeah, seventh, eighth grade. Damn. By the time I was in eighth grade, it was like kind of like I was doing it with my dad, but he kind of showed me everything. Like he got me a credit card at a very young age. And back then, this is one of the craziest things. Back then, they basically just lied on your application how old you were to get you a credit card. Like we went to Bank of America. I was 13 or 14 years old. The lady was like, "I'll put you at 18," and they got me a credit card. Damn. And she and I, it was like $8,000 or something.
Suggestion.
Yeah, and it wasn't like my dad asked for a credit card or nothing. He went there to get himself a credit card, and she was like, "Oh, your son's 14. That's okay. We'll just put he's 18, and we can get you a." This was like all pre 2009, right? Pre the whole financial collapse and everything. So things were not regulated at all. It seemed like because it wasn't like we went to a shady place and they gave us a credit card or nothing. It was Bank of America. I was 18. I was 14 years old or 13 years old at this time, gave me a credit card, and my dad was like, "Hey, this is what you do with the credit card. You spend the money, but you don't use the money in your debit card. You keep the money in your debit card, and then you make monthly payments." So that was the most basic, financial knowledge I got at that time.
So he taught you to use your debit to pay off your credit?
Yeah, and he was like, "Don't use your debit card to buy things if you're going to a store, or if you're going to like this was if we go to Burger King, like just fast food places, right?" He was like, "Use your credit card. And then, end of the month, you use the money in your debit card to pay for it." So then I kind of understood the concept of what a credit card meant. And then he was like, "Hey, these are the bills we have to pay every month. This is the money we make. Make an Excel sheet." Because he didn't have the technical knowledge of how to make Excel sheet. He just kind of knew he had to make payments. He just told me to do these things. Yeah. So I was just like, okay, so now these are all the bills. I made a list of all the utility bills we have to pay every month and added up the total I basically made an Excel sheet with every month how much we paid over the year. And then we kind of got an idea how much we pay every year, right? So then that gave me an idea, okay, these are the kind of average expenses every month you have to make. So you add up all your expenses, you spend maybe $2,000 towards all your expenses. Now, based on the income you make, how can you, and I wasn't planning on doing it, but I was just helping my dad figure these things. Yeah. But it kind of made me understand, hey, someone that makes $6,000 a month, or if you make $8,000 pre-tax, you really only get, if your $8,000 is your gross monthly, you only get 65, and we have a 401k, that's also gone. You're making 6,000, and then you have all these expenses you have to pay for. And then, you have to have a savings account. You put a little bit into your savings account. And then it's like, you're kind of helping them out. And then I'm like, yo, mom, this, or like, I knew when I should ask my parents for money or when I shouldn't, because I see some months they don't make enough money. If they don't have any money, it just made me a lot more aware of like money, right? Money and the concept of money and how important it is to life. And it helped me in a lot of ways. It hurt me in a lot of ways, because it hurt me in a way as in like, I wouldn't say it hurt me, but it was like, it made me realize, I shouldn't, my parents, live paycheck to paycheck, or they make money. It's not like they have thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars saved up. So I was like, I don't want to ask them money when I started when I got into high school, when I started playing soccer, like when I started just wanted to go get a meal. I don't want to every time ask them for money. And I was like, how do I make money myself? That's what got me into selling drugs, right? Yeah. So that was the downside of it, was that, right? You're just like, man, it's like, I know how hard my parents work on a daily basis to make money. And I hate to be like, I just want to, go eat a meal or go hang out with my friends. And my parents don't need to pay for this. I need to find a way to pay for it myself. And we started because my parents gave me money for summer school.
Yeah, like, fuck that. I'm gonna buy me a pee right now. Like, shit, give me a couple zips. That was
the first time they gave me cash like that, $300. We went and bought our first ounce. And then
back then it was what, like, it was like 180 for some stepped on shit. So like probably like 250 for some dro.
Yeah, man. This is like 2009, 2010. So ounces was so good bud was very expensive. Bud got cheap like 2015, 2013, 2014. The price because the demand went up a lot.
Back then it was selling for like 20 a gram, right?
Yeah, man. When I started in high school and stuff, we were all picking up 20 a gram. There was nothing cheaper than 20 a gram. 15 a gram was like the cheapest shit you'll find.
Yeah.
And we were picking up ounces for like 250, 280, and then selling it 20 a gram, just breaking it down.
280 ounces hurt me, bro, so bad. I'm like, I was hoping to sell this for 10. Now I gotta fucking buy it at 10. Like, shit.
That's when the prices all changed. But basically, the concept was, and then you started doing it, and then parents started noticing you changed, and you make it so sloppy, and like you just meeting people outside your parents' house, and they started getting paranoid. It was just like a lot of shit.
Damn, you were bold, bro. Outside the parents' house, I was always trying to be smart with it. I wasn't. We had this fucking funny story. We had this. So in Lake Olympia, have you been to Lakeshore Estates in Lake Olympia? I think it's called Lakeshore Estates.
Yeah.
They have this nature reserve over there where it's like a trail in there. Yeah. And then it goes like a small little trail into the woods, and then it comes out on the other side on another street.
You used to go smoke there.
That was my spot. Yeah. Bro. That was my sales spot. That was our smoking spot. Yeah. Everybody, bro. Everyone in Elkins used to come over there and chief. That was our spot. I never ever sold at my parents' house, like unless they weren't home. If they weren't home, free game.
For sure.
Pull up, driveway.
My parents installed cameras and shit, and then it was just like, they knew what was going on. But all that shit had to happen. It taught me sales skills, honestly. And I look back at a lot of things I did in life, and I say, everything happens for a reason. Because if I did everything right in high school and college, I would have went to UT. Especially because I did finance, I would have just taken a consulting job, and I would have just got on about with my life with that job, and I probably would have been content with it. Would not have taken any risk. But everything in life that happened for me was completely different. I went through a lot of different struggles, with the finances, and even not doing my best in college. That was one of my biggest regrets is, man, I should have applied a lot more in college. I went through college, did fine, but I could have been a lot more if I tried to, if I didn't party too much and like have a good time. Because the focus every day was, man, let's make sure I have a good time. Because you have all your freedom, as long as you're passing all your classes. You're like, why don't you just have a good time? So, you're not applying outside of like, how can I get an internship? How can I
bro, when I was going to class, I was looking like, where's the baddest bitch in the class? So I can go sit over there. Like, that's what I was going to class for. I was like,
mentalities were different.
I forgot my clicker. Can I borrow yours, baby? Clicker real quick.
Exactly. You're not there for the right reasons of learning, gaining knowledge and accruing knowledge. And that's one thing I wish I should have done better. But if, at the same time, because of, my struggles, or because of not being the best in college, I had to settle getting a job at Chase. And because of that, I was always looking for something better. And then one day, randomly, one guy was like, yo, one of my buddies, we were actually sitting at Bogies in Missouri City, Sugar Land. And he was like, why don't you get into mortgage and become a loan officer? And I was like, shit, what's that? And he was like, that's when when you buy a house, you got to get a mortgage. I thought you go to banks. He was like, no, man, there's like, even when you go to banks, because that's what he said. He was like, even when you go to banks, there's a loan officer that does all your stuff to get a mortgage to do a loan. And I was like, oh shit. And I was drunk out of my mind talking about this at 2 a.m. I was like, all right, bet, let me go check it out. And I just was like, how to become a loan officer? Googled it, found out what it took,
Where'd you go, Champions to learn?
No, I took it online. I took my classes online. And I try to, memorize everything, because I have a very bad habit of procrastinating on things. And, usually, especially back then, I had no motivation, no structure in life. Yeah. Everything was procrastination. If I had an exam, I'd stay up the night before, take an Addy, try to learn as much as I could, try to pass the exam. If I had to cheat a little bit, it was a combination of everything. But it was never that I would learn 2 days before an exam. That never crossed my mind. I would learn a week before my exam. My entire college was always the day before my exam, pop an Addy, and then stay up all night, learn as much as you could, and then make a little cheat note, or
get like an 80, 85 on the test. Be
exactly.
Good.
Exactly. I passed the exam. I did whatever I could. And it was just like, you never applied your entire self. And same thing when I first took the exam, I was just like, I bullshit the entire time, just had a good time. And like 3 days before my exam, I had a big ass book to read. I was just like skimming through the book, and took the exam, and I failed. And I was like, yo, this is when life was like, if you can't even do this right, what are you doing with your life, man? It's like everything you're doing is just a failure. And this is not what you grew up not becoming a failure. Like, you got to be better than this. And that's when I was like, why am I trying to, cut corners, right? Everything I was doing in life, I was just cutting corners, selling drugs, cutting corners. You don't want to work your life. You're just trying to find the easy way out of everything in life. Yeah. I was like, all right, this has got to change. I can't live my life like this forever, because, I see life is becoming a failure and everyone's looking down on me at this point. I got to change something about my life. And that's when I was like, all right, I'm just going to start reading the book from the beginning to the end, and let me see what happens. It's like, why wait until the last day to study for an exam, or 2 days before the exam? Why don't I start a month before? Because they're like, because if you fail the second time, now you have to wait 3 or 4 months before you can take it again. So that's when things were like, yo, I failed once. I only have one chance. If I don't
step up.
I got to step up. So then I actually read through the book, and that's when I was like, yo, the concepts actually started to make sense. This, because I had that financial literacy from knowledge from back in middle school or whatever. And then it was like, okay, so this is what you do this for. And then it's like kind of like putting the puzzles together, and everything started to make sense. Took my exam second time, passed it. And then it's like, then it made me very happy. I was just like, yo, finally did something that actually applied myself, see the results with it, made me happy and all that stuff. But then it's like, what do you do now, right? And then it's like, you got your mortgage license. Now it's like loan officers and stuff, mortgage became a little bit more common, I like to believe, after I started doing it. But before, like 2017, 2016 and stuff, it was such a foreign concept. Every time I went and told somebody, oh, I'm in mortgage, like, oh, you're a realtor, right? That was the first question I heard every single time.
I feel like it's still common.
Yeah, and
bro.
It's very common, and I try my best to change it. Everyone always thinks it's like, oh, you do real estate, right? And it's like, man, mortgage itself has so much more to do that people don't really understand, because it's too far. They just like to just put in a box of real estate. And then I got my mortgage license, and then it's like, what do I do now? And then started applying at places, and I worked at a bank or a retail bank, like a guild, or before that I even worked at a brokerage. So first job, because my dad knew this guy that ran a mortgage company, I was like, let me go work with him. And see what it's like. He was like, all right, for an unpaid internship, come in, you can learn whatever. I was just there to learn it, because I was like, I want to learn as much as I could, because the more I learn, the better I'm going to be at this job.
Yeah.
And went in there with the open mind and everything. And I see like that's one of the biggest things. Like, the guy had no technical knowledge. He was just a realtor that had a mortgage license. I had a company he was just like, y'all figured it out kind of mentality. He was trying to be a movie actor, and I was just like, bro, you're tripping. What are you doing?
Robin Ellicott? Who's this guy?
No, there's another character. Yeah, this guy, he wanted to be an Indian movie actor or whatever, even back then. So he was so focused on that. And I was just like, all right, man, and whatever. I'm just trying to learn, even though I'm not getting paid. I came in I was always the first one in. 8:00 I used to be there. 8:30 at night I was still there, and I was getting $0 out of it because I was like watching. So he used to outsource a lot of tasks to like processors in India and stuff. So I used to they used to remote into their computers and just do all the process there. So I just sat there with my book and pen, just taking notes of everything they do, just watch what they're doing, just ask them questions on, hey, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this?
How long was that internship for? Or how long were you there?
I was there for about 8 months or so.
Damn.
So I was just there just every day, and it wasn't like an internship, and that's a whole story that I'll get into. But I was there every day just to learn, and $0, right? I'm getting nothing. I have no leads coming my way. I have all these student loans to pay, credit cards maxed out of my ass, and I'm like, man, what am I doing in my life? But I was just like, this is so fascinating. I'm so intrigued by this, and I see how good of a product this is. The guy doesn't know how to capitalize on it. But I see, and then I started, because people started asking me for rates, and I see the rates they're getting from banks and stuff. I was like, man, ours is so much better. Like, it's just a matter of like, if everyone knew about a better rate, better product that's available, and it does the exact same thing as what a bank does, why would people ever go to a bank, right, for a mortgage? Because I'm saving them almost 1% on interest rate. I'm saving them almost...
And closing costs.
Yeah, and almost $5,000 in closing costs. It's just a matter of educating them the benefits of doing it with us. And it's not like I'm giving the money out of my pocket where if something happens to me, like the loan is gone, or like people have all kinds of concerns because like, how can we trust this kid to do a mortgage? But I'm like, yo, it's not my own money. I'm just putting you with the right wholesale lender. And I'm like, yo, worst case scenario, if they went bankrupt, your mortgage gets forgiven. Is that a bad thing for you? Like if if the lender forgets about your mortgage, you got the house for free ultimately. Like, is that really a bad thing?
Yeah.
So that was my first ever strategy to like put confidence in people's mind. Is like, yo, because the worst case scenario, if the lender went bankrupt, first of all, they would never let your debt goes away like that. They would just transfer your debt to someone else, right? So like, people don't understand. Some people don't understand the concept. They
kind of sell the loan, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, your debt never gets forgiven in the first place. There's nothing like that in the. But ultimately, it's all about strategies, like get people's attention. And one of the biggest things I always told was like, it's not like people used to think I used to take my parents' money and just like was doing mortgage with that. I was like, no, man, that's not how this works. It's like you would be surprised the amount of people that ask me, oh, your dad's the one giving you money to do the mortgage, right?
You know how many loans I'm doing the money? You think he has fucking $1 billion to spend?
Exactly. Like Malu people, sometimes they don't understand the concept of things. They just
Malu people ask you? I thought they would be smarter than that.
Like the older Malu cats, bro, you'd be surprised. Some of the dumbest questions, because they don't have.
That's just arrogance, because the community has a lot of arrogance in it, especially with the old heads. They always look down on the next generation, and not just that, they look around them with their peers, and they're always trying to be better than their peers. That's one of the things that I've seen, and my parents have told me about the community. Is just like, there's so much jealousy and like competition that people don't want to lift each other up. People just want to like judge each other, and like, what do you want?
It's always you're always appreciated the last in your own community. Your community is the last one. The person that asked me that question, it went to my parents' church, and it's very hard for them to give you credit for what you do. They always try to undermine what you've done by asking these questions. That's very disrespectful, right? So like, and one of the biggest things, like my parents' church they go to, I still get the least amount of loans from my own parents' church, and I see them going to other lenders and other loan officers when they even know about me, because it's very hard for them to like.
It's a pride thing.
Yeah, it's like like your own community is always the last one to appreciate you and give you respect for what you do. And they try to bring you down by saying, oh, you're only doing this because your dad have a lot of money. You're using your dad's money to do this, right? And I was like, I just laugh it off. But then I'm like, bro, if that's what you're thinking, that speaks more volume to me about your mentality and what you think of what I've done, what I've accomplished, right? And it's like, that doesn't bother me. That just only motivates me to like prove them wrong a lot more. But it really, that's kind of like, you hear those questions up front. Like when I first started, the questions were always like, dude, this kid, 23-year-old kid, how can we trust him to do mortgage? What if he mess it up? Like my house is gone. And with real estate transactions, a lot of things are time sensitive to where if you don't close on time, people lose their earnest money. Your credibility is gone. The realtors are upset at you. Clients are upset at you. They leave bad reviews for you, and they spread your bad word to everyone in the community, right? So everything was riding on it, and I had to build credibility before COVID. So I worked with them. Back then, my mentality was nothing about starting my mortgage company. None of this stuff. I was just like, I just want to process his loans. I asked the guy 6 months in, I was like, yo, can I get $1,000 salary? Because I am so broke. I have no money. I have all these credit cards. I'm just balance transfer from one credit card to another, just trying to make it through the month. Because I'm getting because he was paying me $100 a loan for each loan I processed. And I was processing 3 to 4 loans a month. So I was making, before tax, $400, $300. After tax, like $250, $300 a month. Dude, I'm like, yo, I'm so broke. I can't live like this. And he was like, if you don't like the way I do things, you can leave. And I was like, wow. It's like that, dude, you did more loans with me since I came on board, since you've ever done before I came on board. And if you really don't see it, you're just going to, because he saw me because I was just like trying to talk to clients. Clients started liking me better than, talking to him. So he saw me as a threat, and rather than enabling me and like promoting me and making me something better. On board. Right. His first mentality was, I'm going to fire the guy and like let him figure out his own. And I was like, wow. And I wasn't seeing that coming. This is when I had my first 2 ever loans. Like, well, my brother-in-law and like his sister, they were all in the process of buying a house. And I was just like, yo, like I have a couple of my first ever loans I'm finally doing. And you're just gonna, cut me off like that. It just like, it caught me so off guard. And I was so surprised, shocked, everything. And I just left there. And I'm just like, what do I do now? These all people, I finally have 2 clients that are ready to do the loans, that are in the pipeline doing the loans with me. Now he's just going to fire me. Like, I can't do their loan anymore. So I was like, only other person I knew at this time that was in the Indian community that was doing mortgage was another lady that was working with Guild Mortgage. That's like a retail of a bank. So this was when I started realizing the difference, because the first place I worked at was a brokerage that did mortgage broker. That's kind of what I do now, which is where you partner with like 30 different, 50 different lenders. There's wholesale lenders everywhere. More you know, the better, more you find. Yeah. And then this other person I went to work for after this, because I was like, man, I got to take these clients somewhere else, because if not, they have a house to buy and close in 30 days, and I got to figure out their mortgage, right? Yeah. So then I went to this other lady, and I was like, hey, I worked here, whatever, and it wasn't going anywhere. I just asked for a salary. I just wanted to, do something, and he didn't want to pay me anything, so he let me go. I finally have some clients. I'm willing to work for free as long as you can help me, my clients or whatever. And she was like, yeah, she was very accommodating or whatever. Gave me a $15 per hour salary, and I was like, fuck it, I'll take it, because the goal is to get your own clients and grow your business that way as a loan officer. And then she rushed everything, and that was one of my biggest regret, was what you hear at the end of the story. But basically, she got me in, and then I went to the system and tried to price out a mortgage. The same exact scenario I gave my clients back then, 3% rate. It was like 2017. Went to this portal, priced it out. It was like 3.75 because she was part of a bank. And I was like, yo, I gave all these clients 3%. I had them locked in with my previous lender at 3%, and they're good to go. I cannot go back and tell them 3.75. And I was like, I'm willing to take no money for this. I'm willing to do it for free, because these are my family. I want to close them. My reputation is on the line. She was like, well, if you take no money, the best we can do is like 3.375. I was like, oh my God. I was getting 2% over there for 3% rate, and you're telling me I can make zero money here and I still have to give them 3.3. And I was like, dude, there's a huge niche here. And that's when I finally realized, the bank, like I was like, why would anyone ever go to a bank when they knew about lenders
or these lending companies have such better rates?
If you have a brokerage and you work for other wholesale, because you're partnering with wholesale, because wholesale lenders, the way they see it, they don't have any overhead expense when they work with us. We basically have the entire overhead. All they need is like underwriters to review files, and they just give us the rates, and we sell the rates. So their overhead is not there. So now they can save that and give us better rates. So that's a whole strategy.
So that's how it works. Okay.
That's how the more brokerage side works, because all these lenders, it's like they don't have to sell. They don't have to have salespeople. They don't have to have a loan officer. None of that expenses. They don't have to have a building. None of that, right? They only need underwriters and good rates. And the wholesale lenders will basically, brokers, the loan officers that work for brokers will sell their rates or sell the product for them. and they don't have to pay them anything for it.
It's a form of sales, pretty much. It's an extension of sales.
You just have to have a really good product, very competitive rates. And like when you have 30 wholesale lenders, they're all competing for your business. Competition keeps better rates. Now you have a really good product that comes out of this competition and that you can sell, and it's a no-brainer to every client that's shopping you with a bank or a retail lender. And I was like, wow, this lady works for a retail lender. It's a franchise of a Guild Mortgage, which is like, it's like corporate structure. And then it's like basically you're paying for empty suits down the road, because when the client gets a rate, it has all the fees included for every corporate person above the franchise owner itself. And I was like, dude, I cannot sell these rates. I mean, I probably could have, but it's like, I've seen something better. The better side of it. So it's like, I know something that's better, then why would I do this?
Is that when you realize like, I'm going to start my own company?
That's when I was like, there's a niche in this. And it's a matter, I was like, who else is doing this? What the first guy was doing, what I was doing, and nobody else was really doing it to a full extent. And I was like, then why are none of these people doing it? Because it's like running your own business. Because if you're a franchise, they do your compliance, they do most of the stuff where licensing and stuff, you don't really have to do any of it. You just pay your licensing franchise fee and you just run the company, right?
Has there been a lot of growth since you started? Like, have you seen now more companies pop up?
Yeah, man, it's crazy. The competition, it grew at least like 700% since I started. Damn. I would say, it's back. It's because the numbers were like, there was only two other companies that were doing it when I started. Now there's like almost 14, 15.
Who were they? Were they like Loan Depot and some other people?
No, no. I'm saying at least not in the Indian community. Not the overall. Yeah, of course, there was like a whole another market sector, right? So
is that still your main market? Is like the kind of Indian community?
No, not really, right? But at that point, right, it's like that's really what you're seeing is like, because most of your clients at that point, at least when you start, is like Indian people and stuff like that. So when I saw the disparity, I was like, dude, I cannot work for this anymore. I gotta find. And I respectfully went and told her, I'm so sorry. You did so much for me. To get me all situated, but it's really the fact that when I saw the rates, it's not something, I didn't realize the difference was this drastic between you and someone that had a brokerage. And, I feel like I would be fitted more towards the brokerage. She definitely didn't appreciate it, and which I totally understand, because she gave me the opportunity and like, brought me in. So like, cause I had to close these loans in like 3 weeks. And I was just like, I'm so sorry. I just have to let him keep it because these are my family members. I cannot tell them go pay 3.5 after I told you 3%. And this is when I was just dating my girl, right? And it was like her family, like her. And I can't just go to my brother-in-law and be like, hey, sorry, I got to finesse you now. Tell you 3.5.
She don't look at you like, motherfucker.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Put in a good word for you. You ain't coming to no family reunions, motherfucker. Right.
Exactly. So I was like, bro, I'm so sorry. And I was like, I'm moving to this new company, but I'll just continue to have your loan done with the old company I was at. I want to make sure you can host your loan. Basically, I was just like, John, please, even though I'm not part of it, you take care of it. You don't even have to pay me. Just take care of my family, because I eventually just started these rates, loan with them. Anyways, they ended up closing. I helped them, whatever, done with it. So I was just like, yo, I got to do something in this niche. And then I went and worked another brokerage, another terribly ran and that's one thing you notice is like brokerage a lot of time, because it's individually owned, people don't really plan it. They just do it whatever they can. And it's usually really bad job because people don't put in the time and effort it takes to be very successful at the job. They just do the bare minimum, work out of their house or get like a 300 square feet off, like very tiny office. Like you can't really, and this is all pre-COVID, right? So people really care about seeing face to face and like meeting you in person and all this stuff. And you can't run a business that way. Out of your house or like a very small cubicle, because people, you don't have the reputation, like people didn't doubt it, especially because I was so young, right? It's like now I don't have an office, and I used to tell people, and I saw this, it was like a little shed and like a U-Haul storage unit, and I was like, what the fuck am I doing here? And then the entire office was half of this room, had one printer, one computer, and that's it. And the guy was blind.
What the
broker was blind. He had some accident back in Louisiana. He hasn't closed a loan in like 10 years. He just started a company more in Sugarland. And it was like a storage unit with his wife was like a substitute teacher at Rich Point. And I was like, what the fuck am I doing in my life, man? You know,
this is the last one you worked at before you started your
yeah. Okay, so when I was there, and I was just like, dude, I used to tell my clients back then, I was like, oh, my office is in downtown. I don't want y'all driving, so I'll just come to your house and pick up documents, because I was so embarrassed to tell them that where my actual office was.
Yeah.
And I used to go to people's houses and like take loan applications when they're eating dinner and stuff. It was the most awkward thing in life, because it's like you got to go see them after they get out of work.
Yeah.
And like you're driving to places, so it'll be like 7:38 by the time you get there, and they're like usually eating dinner or like cooking dinner in the kitchen. At the table, just taking loan application on my computer and like taking documents from them and like going to my house, scanning it, or like have them scan me. It was so unprofessional. It was just like so.
But
like,
you still made it work. You still were closing deals.
I was hustling. I was like, dude, I got to close something, because I can't. You know, now I'm fully on my own to like. Because he was like, whatever you close, you get paid like 50% of your commission, which you make, or the company makes in total. And I was like, shit, I'll take whatever. But it was just so embarrassing, because the company itself was so, like, he had no online presence, nothing.
How many lenders did he have that he was working with?
Like 4 or 5. And that to a lot of it that I found out from my first opportunity. And I told him, hey, sign up with this. Because I know I've worked with them before, and then basically putting me in touch with them so I can just close loans, because he hasn't done a loan in a year, so he didn't really care about it. He got a huge settlement from his accident, and so he was good. He was chilling. He was just chilling. I was so desperate for help. So he had nothing to lose. If I close, he gets 50% of my commission, and I'm doing everything from beginning to end on the loan. So basically that helped me learn everything about mortgage, because I was on my own where I had to do everything from the beginning. He had no help, no other employees to help me. So it helped me learn everything, and then I did it for like 3 months, and I'm like, dude, the fuck am I doing here? It's like I'm doing everything myself. If the blind guy that hasn't closed a mortgage in 10 years can run a mortgage company, I sure as hell can find a way to do it, right? Yeah. So then I reached out to the compliance and find out what it takes, and it was like you got to have an office, and I didn't have money to fucking pay for rent at that time, so I was like, my parents, I had to write a lease with my parents. Gave me their guest room as the office, and they had to come do an inspection of the office. I had to remove the bed out of their guest room, put a table in there, and like they were like, you need an office sign. So I wrote Champions Mortgage on a piece of paper, and like 9 to 5, and I had to stick a piece of paper on the door, and they had to pass my inspection. That's what it took.
The inspection?
Yeah, because they're like, you just need to have a sign on the door, and you have to have your office hours and Monday, like what days you're open. I was like, do I have to have an actual sign, or can I write it on a piece of paper? That you can write on a piece of paper.
And were people coming to the office?
No, you're doing everything outside. It was just like you got to store data, and you got to have everything inside an office space, and you have to have a computer, you have to have a lock on the door and things like, because the old school way of doing it, a lot of it has to do with the old school way of doing it, is you have to have a file cabinet, you have to have a lock on the file cabinet, you have to have it in a room that's locked in to have a mortgage company, because that's where you save data, right? You save documents, because you deal with a lot of people's confidential personal information. You have to store the information. And this, again, going back to the old school way of doing things, right? Which comes with, and this is all like 2016, 2017, so it was still that file cabinet mentality was still there. So I had to do all that compliance stuff, pass it finally, where I can start my own company.
Yeah.
So it was first called Champions Lending. Champions Lending LLC, that was the original name, and it was all started in 2016, right after Astros won a championship. And I was looking for a new name.
Commercial. Astros commercial, what was it?
Yeah.
Get a mortgage with us, and it'll be a grand slam.
Hit a home run, hit a home run in homeownership.
Hit a home run in homeownership.
Exactly, and my wife came up with that catch line too. I was like, that's so clever. That goes perfectly fine, perfectly well with that commercial, because it was a baseball commercial. But basically I came up with the name Champions because I was coming up trying to think of a new name for the company and all this, and I was like, I can't think of any good. That's when Astros won the championship. I had a plaque in my room for the Champions 2016. Champions, why don't we be Champions Lending? So first came Champions Lending, and then I was like, lending, people don't really connect to mortgage as much, and then I got a DBA to change it to Champions Mortgage. And that's when it really took off. And then I was like, I got to earn credibility. Credibility was everything, because I was so young. People didn't really trust me. I was like, I got to have an office space. Took all my savings, $10,000. My first month rent and security deposit was like $9,500. Gave it all. My entire savings. I got 2 months to close the loan. If I don't, fuck it, I'll go back to my parents' house. Put it all into that office space. I was no other employees back then, just me, myself. From there, man, sky's the limit, right? So then people would basically reach out to people, let them know what I do, and I was always available. That was the biggest thing, is when you run a business, And when I see a lot of companies now, like younger generation starting it, the biggest thing I say is be available to answer your calls. When people call out to you, you cannot be, oh, it's a weekend, I'm not going to answer the call. Or it's like, it's past 7 o'clock, I'm not going to answer the call. When you're starting off, fuck that, bro. You 24/7, you better be available to take any business that comes to your doors. And that was my biggest thing. When I first started, I was available 24/7, any day of the week. You call me, I'm available. I'll come to your house, do whatever it takes. And then people, and then I started figuring out things like really learned everything because I was the only person there. I had to figure everything out, do everything from the beginning to the end, learned it, and then pass the wisdom to clients, educate them, and then eventually grow the company. Yeah. Now we have 20 employees and like 35 loan officers.
Badass, man.
5 years.
Being able to look back at that story and be like, I came from here,
nothing, man,
all the way to here. But you're right, like the being available 24/7. Same thing with Corey. He works all the time, and he's always available to answer a call, always available to work. Like tomorrow, we're having a little get together with some of our boys. I told him, come, like, hey, we're gonna be hanging out. He's like, nope, I got work to do. Nope. I've got to do it. And Sunday? He's still young. I mean, he started his company maybe 2 years ago, but he knows I've got to be available all the time. And because of that, he's having so much success right now. Most successful month, again, was this past month. Before that, when we had talked last year, most successful month, and it was some crazy numbers. Like the numbers that he was talking about were some crazy numbers for being only a year and a half into business as, his company. Because he said, fuck everything else. This stuff takes precedence, and I'm going to put everything into this. Time, effort, money, all that shit goes into this. So with mortgage, I have a question kind of regarding my own understanding, what I'm trying to learn and keep track of. But when you're looking at the market now, right? It's crazy, and it's been crazy for like the last who knows, year and a half.
Months, yep.
So, what do you look at as markers or trends that you're kind of trying to keep up with to know where it's going to go? Do you have anything, or you kind of just at the mercy of the market?
Oh man, with the rates, I'm sure. Yeah, you're the rates mainly.
I mean, rates, home prices,
home prices,
the whole shebang.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is demand. Well, when it comes to the home prices, everything has to do with supply and demand. One big misconception, and one of my buddies, best friend on, is a huge bear against he's big on stocks and crypto, and he's very bearish on real estate, kind of opposite of mine. But I mean, you got to have all kinds of mentalities, in your mindsets, in your friend circle, right? So he's very against real estate because he thinks it's gonna be another financial collapse like the 2008, 2009. And I personally don't think so, right? So a lot of it, my viewpoint or my response to that is usually like people are always worried about, I'm waiting for the next crash. I'm waiting for the next crash to happen, so the real estate is going to be a discount price is going to be everything's going to lose value 50%. So then, my whole thought process behind is like, let's go back and look at what happened in 2008, 2009, right? And see if those same patterns are happening now to where it can happen again. So back in 2008, 2009, there was no regulation, no guidelines. Everyone was basically, it was a Wild West where there was no set guidelines. There was no Fannie and Freddie. Those are the two big main entities right now that every conventional FHA, VA loans has to be sold to these two entities. Right? If they don't approve your loan, you cannot close a conventional mortgage at all. So none of the guidelines were in place back in 2008, 2009. Everything was like, you say I make $10,000 a month, you make $10,000. You don't verify anything. That was the whole subprime market was there.
Do they still do that? Because there was an interview I saw. Do you know Patrick Bet David? Valuetainment on YouTube. He has like a channel where he interviews a lot of people. He interviewed this guy who was on the FBI's most wanted list at one time because he was big in fraud and mainly mortgage fraud. So what they would do at his mortgage company, he started a mortgage company back then, was they would literally white out people's W-2s and fabricate numbers to be able to get someone to qualify for loans and shit like that.
Right, exactly. And that's the kind of shit. Even like when I was 14 years old, I was able to get a credit card because nothing was, nobody like went back and verified if it was true. Like there's no system where you can verify anything was true. And it was the worst in mortgage because everyone was just like, you can white out a W-2, you can white out a pay stub, you can make your own pay stub, because then lenders did not verify if that was actually true or not. So people were buying houses saying buying 600,000 houses making $3,000 a month.
Yeah.
And no way of making payments. And they'd be like, first 6 months, we'll give you a 3% rate. And then you try to qualify them based on that 3% rate. What happens after the 6 months is over? Your rate goes to 10% or 9%, and you cannot afford it, right? Yeah. So the objective of the lenders back then, because that's what the whole subprime was that we wanted just you to, foreclose on this house. You want you to be backed up, default on this house so we can take your asset, sell it on a discount, right?
Yeah.
That was their mentality. What they didn't understand is that if a million other people had the same mentality and there's a million other assets available for sale, there's no demand for it.
Because no one has money.
Nobody has money. Everyone's, fucking losing houses. The credit is fucked. Now that you fucking late on your mortgage payments, you're not making mortgage payments. You can't buy another house because you don't have a credit anymore.
Yeah.
And now there's no demand for housing. Values are inflated like crazy. Lenders are sitting on assets that are backed up on, defaulting on mortgage. Everyone's losing at that point, right? So that's what caused the entire financial real estate collapse back in 2008, 2009. Versus now, after that, they basically came up with Fannie and Freddie. They established a set of guidelines where every conventional FHA and VA mortgage has to qualify. They have an automated system that has to approve your loan based on the characteristics of the loan that you have: credit score, DTI, income, credit history. Everything basically is automated software that nobody, it's like a proprietary software. No one knows really what's determines.
And there's no way to get around it. Every company has to use it.
And that's the biggest advantage as a mortgage broker that we have after 2008. Now is an even playing ground for every lender across the U.S.
They can't lie.
Nobody can lie, because you cannot, even if you want to, you cannot choose to keep it yourself. You have to sell the loan to Fannie and Freddie. Fannie and Freddie.
How do they verify? Because don't they just make phone calls to the establishments where these documents are being sent from?
Employment or the
employment.
You verify with the IRS because you file your taxes every year showing your W-2. So we verify IRS transcripts to make sure your income that you show on your W-2 is the same income that you filed on your taxes.
Okay.
So that's one way. We verify directly with the employer. And it cannot just be an employer phone number, cell phone number that your client gives you. You have to go to a Google or like an actual website search engine, look up the employer, find their directory and reach out to them from there, or email someone with the work email handle, confirm that this is the person actually working there. Like your W-2s, your pay stub, like we verify everything. We verify the bank statements directly with the bank. So I've seen clients, even Malu clients, as forge these bank statements coming to me. I'm like, yo, you are just like some of these like aunties and stuff. I'm like, you had the balls to go fucking do this shit. You had the fucking balls to go make a PDF this goddamn Bank of America bank statement, and you think you can fool me? It blew my fucking mind one time when I saw this, because she was an accountant. And she fucking forged her bank statements. She was just basically I was like, you're terrible at computer in the first place. So you were just putting it on a Word document, trying to, customize it. And like the font is not aligning with each other. Like we know what the red flags we got to look for each document. Pay stub, same thing. Your year-to-date income doesn't match with your pay stub income. There's like red flags, basically lenders, underwriters, and like we all have set guidelines that we have to follow. So now the banks are not at the same advantage that they have where they can just make their own rules and give loans anymore. Everyone has to basically follow the same rules. So now banks have a lot more overhead expenses to make sure these rules are followed. And now their rates are higher than what we can offer, because we don't have those overhead, because a wholesale lender will take care of the underwriting and sale of the mortgage and all those other expenses. We just really need to have a processor in us to submit the loan to the underwriter. They basically do all the due diligence as far as, is it valid, is it fake? They do it. They will tell us if they see some red flags, right? So cuts our costs, cuts their costs, and it gives a competitive advantage over a bank or a retail lender, because they don't have that luxury. They basically take on that cost. So that's what made the mortgage broker a very lucrative business, because every client I come, I usually tell them, hey, feel free to go shop with the Chase or Bank of America, knowing damn well they're not beating my rate. And they compare my rate or my, whatever I can offer them versus even my service versus a bank is night and day, and there's no reason for them to go to a bank. Because if my rate is not better than Chase, there's no reason I should be in business, because they would be like, why would I not go to Chase? I already bank with Chase. They have all my financials.
Yep.
I have all my checking accounts there. If I can add my mortgage in there too, it makes my life easier, right? So, and that's when I was like, yo, this gives you an advantage that you have a product that's better than anything a bank can do, anything a retail lender can do. Why doesn't more people know about this? Because they don't know any better. And I didn't know any better. Most people don't know any better until they find a mortgage broker, see their rates. And that's when I was like, yo, this is a niche. It's a matter of you executing on it, building a brand out of it. And I had two options. Either I can work from my parents' house for life, or my own house, stay small, keep my overhead small. And, I can only go as big as I could, because at the end of the day, I don't have an office or no employees. Maybe I have one or two like remote employees, nothing like that. I wanted to do something bigger. I wanted to do a brand. I was like, you got to go big. You got to take risk in life to really build a brand with it. And, now we have a payroll over 100,000 a month. And I was like, if I don't close 20 loans a month, I'm losing money. But I have the confidence, because we have 35 loan officers. Now, not just me closing loans, they're also bringing loans. Every single one of them brings loans. Even if all of them bring one loan a month, that's 35 loans. And if I bring 5 loans a month, we're good, right? So, but now, I mean, obviously that's a bare minimum expectations. You cannot, that's not your expectations ultimately expectations. You want to do thousands of loans a month, right? Because that's where you build a brand bigger than yourself. Because your concept is always, I would rather be 10% profit on $1 billion company than 100% profit on $1 million company. And that's the way I say you scale your business, you grow your business, set your goals, which you have every year or every 5-year plan, 10-year plan. Now, one thing I learned in probation, going through the financial system or legal system was, and I still remember my PO telling me about that. It's set your goals, man. It's like you have so much more to offer in life. Why are you doing, $10 bags? You're selling weed at the end of the day for $10 profit, $15 profit, $100 profit max. Do something bigger with your life. It's like you take
those
your
skills and apply them somewhere else,
bigger, and then it's like build a brand that's bigger than yourself. And obviously, she didn't say all that, but it's like you always set your 1-year goal, 5-year goal, and 10-year goal in life, and you write it down, write your goals down. Make a list of things you got to do every day. And that's my biggest advice I tell anyone. Like I have kids come to me for internship, like college, high school kids, summertime internship. We always gave everyone 10. Ever since I went through my miserable unpaid internship, I make sure everyone at least get 13 to 15 bucks an hour. Paid internship is all I do. And they always ask me like, what do you say? One thing you can tell someone to improve their life is write down what you want to accomplish each and every day of your life. Is a lot easier to accomplish your goals if you write them down. Have your 6-month goal, 1-year goal, 5-year goal, 3-year goal, whatever it is. You write your goals down, write your principles, and everything you write down, and then something real. About it. It makes real. It makes it execute a lot better. Not writing.
Yeah, and I think for you, I mean, just talking to you over the course of the time we've known each other, and just this podcast itself, I mean, you're very passionate about the field. Like you've clearly dedicated yourself to learn it.
Right.
You have the knowledge, you've really worked the skills. So I think you're going to get to that $1 billion company, that level that you want to get to, and, scale it up to that. Cause I have full confidence that you're going to get there just because of the passion you have and the knowledge you have of the field, man. So
$1 billion is hard.
Don't
man.
Stop, but you're going to fucking get there, bro. I know you will, but I think it's time for us to see just how good you are at chess. And if I'm going to have probably the toughest challenge on the show yet. All right, so the challenging part about the game, right? We're going to have to talk on the mic. So when you play, just maybe scoot over, play, but don't talk while you're playing. Wait till you come back here and then talk. Like, so if you want to talk some shit, wait. Be like, what about now, bitch?
I got you.
In case you get you don't have to worry about it. You ain't going to get one of your pawns on my side. But if you get a pawn on my side, then you can get another queen.
There. All right. I see what.
All right.
Game time, baby.
Yes, sir. So, yeah, just remember, when you talk, make sure you're talking in front of the mic.
Right
if you need to play a move, just wait. Play it. Boom, then come back. Yeah, you might have to just...
The long arms.
Come back. I know, I got
you got really long arms. Yeah, you don't need to stop talking. I can play and talk at the same time.
Some, like those rich people. All right.
Alrighty. Yeah. I repeat it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Yep. Whenever you're ready. All right, man.
Game time.
White goes first.
Yes, sir. Ready.
Classic move.
Got to, right?
But I always go two squares up. You know. That's how the pros do it. You know what I'm saying? See, I'm facing an amateur, so I've got nothing to worry about. And watch that shit bite me in the ass, and he just destroys me. So it happened in the first episode. It can happen again. I feel like we play similar. The way you were gonna move him, very similar strategy to me. But let's see. I already know what you're going for, dog.
Mm-hmm.
I know what
you're going for. Gotta try my basic.
I've done it before.
See if you know the basic rules first.
So you haven't watched.
Test the waters.
You haven't watched my previous chess games because I've won with that move many times. I think the last 3 episodes I won with that setup, what you're trying to do right now. But you know you can't do it now. I mean, you should know. I'm trying to see if you're gonna bring out that knight though. I want to see how vast your knowledge is. You have the setup for it now. I have a guess. I want to write it down just to see if I'm right, and then I can show the camera. I guess his next move. Okay, not the move I was expecting. Not the one. Oh yeah, here, put that mic in front of you. I think you flagged it. Like,
okay.
Yeah. I know it's a little unpragmatic, but
gotta get used to that.
We're a budget setup here. We ain't Jerry yet.
That was I got really lucky on that one.
Bruv, you don't know nothing, bruv. Okay.
Yeah, it's hard to talk when you play chess because you gotta really think. Yeah.
I know. Let me just distract you by talking. That's what I'm gonna do from now on. Just tell you that you have no chance. That this is what's the word?
Game over?
No, not game over yet. But this is what's that word?
A lot of confidence, I see.
When they say there's no point. What's the word when it means like there's no point in doing what you're doing? It's futile. That's what I'm saying. This is futile. Yes. This whole attempt at dethroning me on my win streak is futile.
The winning streak.
I only lost the first game because of nerves. The last 3 games are demolished, and I will continue to win. Let's see.
Mm-hmm. So I'm not on a time scale or time crunch here.
No, we don't have the click. No click timer, none of that.
I got plenty of time, so I can think out all strategies.
Go for it. It will all be null. See what you're doing. Damn, now I don't know what to do. Got a lot of moves here. Okay, let me play around a little bit.
And
check. Now it's getting interesting. I think we're both like decent. We're not like cold or anything, but because we're both decent, it feels like we're both cold. Level. You know, like we're playing against someone that's cold.
That's what it feels like.
Fuck, we're good. Shit.
But we still feel like we have a chance.
Yeah, we're like, damn, we're so good at this game.
So focused over here. National will be like, what the fuck are these moves? Yeah, terrible.
But I ain't worried about that. I ain't worried about that, dog. No. Let's see. Didn't see that one coming, I'm not gonna lie. But it's okay. It's all fine and dandy. I'm gonna go. Where am I gonna go? I can see the fear in his eyes. He's afraid.
Too early.
He's afraid. He feels like he's facing a grandmaster right now.
Best way to counter this.
There's no best way. You made the worst way when you decided to play me, sir.
I like your confidence.
Yeah, it's fake, but it's fun.
4-game winning streak gave you that confidence, I see. Okay.
No, only three. I gotta be honest. Yeah, because only 3. Oh, yes, I know exactly what I'm gonna do. Okay, interesting. I feel like that was a wasted move, sir, but know you best.
Play fast and
damn it.
That was coming, buddy. I was waiting till you make the move.
Which piece do you want to lose? Which one? You want to lose your bishop or you want to lose your knight? Which one do you want going first? Which headpiece would you like to lose first? Oh yeah, we're gonna have some fun. I know what you're trying to do. Do what you're trying to do. But go ahead. She needs to be in front of him if you really want to threaten me. Not behind him. It's kind of the way though. Yep. I'm gonna say, what are you trying to do with it though?
Just making sure you know.
Yeah, I know.
Because they say you still technically have to say it. You cannot just assume the other person knows.
I don't know if that's true because I've watched games at the high levels and they don't say shit. Like,
exactly. I don't see that.
And then everyone knows that, okay, I'm gonna check.
Exactly,
Like Magnus Carlsen never says check.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
I know.
Queen's Gambit.
That's
man.
good. I mean, you can take my rook.
Queen's Gambit is where I really like chess. I was like, man, this is one thing that glorified chess more than anything else. Have you seen that show?
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I've heard about it. Yeah, bunch about it.
Very interesting.
Damn. All right. Well, you can take my rook. All yours.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Think you'd be nice giving me a rook for my bishop?
For your bishop and your knight. Let's not forget about this player who's with the team too.
Okay.
So. I'll trade 2 for 1. But I hate losing my rooks. I'm not gonna lie. That's my second favorite piece. You almost let your hair go. Once you let your hair go, it's a wrap. So I saw it.
Very close.
Oh, I was gonna be like free kill.
Yikes!
I like them free kills, bro. Free kill any day. Man, you really are gonna let my rook survive? Wow, you are nice, man. How do I want to set this up, though? Damn, how do I plug this in? All right, just gonna protect my rook, keep him alive.
The rook.
I'm gonna say checkmate in 5. I'm gonna say checkmate in 5. Okay, I'm not gonna say checkmate in 5 anymore.
Oh boy.
Ew. Damn it.
You can do everything right and still end up in a stalemate.
I didn't like that move. Man, fuck. Why'd you do that? I had a checkmate in 5 lined up.
You can do everything right and still end up in a draw.
I know, for real.
That's why it's so frustrating.
You know how pissed I've been playing recently where I've had a queen and a king on the board and they had a king and I've ended up in stalemate? Just because I did one bad move where I locked him in and
All it takes. Undo. Can I hit undo, please?
Redo this shit, God. Okay. How do I? Okay.
It's gonna be the longest podcast ever with this game. The way we're playing it, the way I'm playing it, taking my time.
So as you should. Yeah. You gotta play smart.
I like.
Interesting. Okay. I'll speed things up. I'll give fast moves. Let him do the thinking. Keep the pressure on him.
Don't panic.
Always calm. Gotta be.
So much for the 3 move.
Yeah, that's
checkmate.
Yeah.
I tried.
I did try. Thought I had it, but fuck.
Yep, that was over.
Yeah, it's gone. It's a done deal.
No more of that.
Not going to speak right now because I don't want you to see the mistake I made. Yeah, let's talk about sports. Let's talk about John Jones coming back tonight. You gonna watch that fight?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's just gonna be crazy. Where are you gonna watch it? You gonna watch it at the crib or?
Yeah, at the
heading
crib.
out?
Probably at the crib.
We'll be going to McIntyre's Heights if you guys want to join. We'll probably watch on the big screen. They have the huge fucking screen over there. Yeah, in downtown. We'll pull up over there. I think a few of us are going. Probably like 5-6 of us.
After seeing Drake bet on it, I've been debating if I should or not.
The curse is alive.
Nah,
I'm going for Jones though. I think he's gonna win.
You got to. I cannot bet against him. I cannot bet against him ever.
I don't like going
100%.
against the Americans. Like,
yeah, that too.
All the other countries are so patriotic with their fighters.
Yeah,
we're the only ones that aren't, bro. All Americans care about is who's fucking popular. Yeah. I hate that shit.
Conor, especially Conor.
Straight up, he fights an American fighter, and people are like, "Oh, Conor in America." I'm like, you guys are
that.
Fucking
like Nate
clowns.
Diaz fight. I'm like, bro,
I'm
Nick
going for Diaz. Fuck yeah,
hell yeah, you got to go
every
for
time.
It. Hey, but
like,
you'd be surprised how many people are like, oh, Conor. I'm like, fuck that.
Not surprised at all, man. The Americans are so biased on what's who's popular, who's popping right now. This in New York, they had a fight in New York last year, and this girl from New York was fighting a British girl, and they were cheering for the British girl because she was popular. Like, the girl that was fighting her was from New fucking York, and the New Yorkers were booing her and cheering for the British girl. I'm like,
what are you doing?
This is pathetic. Like, this is a joke.
How can you not support your hometown?
That shit was disturbing to watch. Let's see.
Can't be that easy.
Didn't know if you saw it or not. I thought I did a good job distracting you from what was going on in that.
You're like, oh, I hope you don't see it, or a mistake I made. I was like, hold on, that's got to be a distraction right there. I was like, you didn't make no mistake with that move.
Yeah, I was just trying to get her out of there. I didn't like her over there. I like her behind all your pieces like that. That's beautiful. Keep that all day.
Why would you fucking pawn?
I don't know, bro. What is it? Come on, you're supposed to think 6 moves ahead.
I'll know. Easier, real quick. What you gonna do now? Thought I was gonna attack, huh? I'll play defensive. I'll counter to your move.
I know what you're gonna do if I take that one. I don't know what you're gonna do if I take that one. What the fuck? Damn. All right, I think I know things, shall we? All right, now it's time for me to come clean. That was a blunder.
I was like, God damn.
I was like, as soon as I let it go. Ah, shit.
Oh, boy, that was funny.
As soon as I let it go, I was like, why the fuck did I do this? Oh.
I was like, hold on, that doesn't make sense.
Oh, as soon as I let her go.
Oh, that's funny.
Shit. I just played it cool. Let me just be smooth right now, man.
Poker face. I was like, that doesn't make sense.
Like,
no,
fuck.
Sir. Not the bishop.
It's okay though. It's okay. We learn from our lessons and we move on. Fucking, that's what life's about. Make mistakes and learn. Shit, man. Okay. Shit. Interesting. Ready. Knew that was coming. Do whatever you want, my boy. Life is your oyster. This chessboard is your oyster. Oh, I know exactly what I'm gonna do. No way. Thinking. Yeah, give me your queen. Just put her right there in front of my bishop. Okay. I think I see what you're trying to do. Okay.
Man with a plan or man with a poker face?
I know what you're gonna do. Go ahead and threaten my king with your queen. Yeah, I know what you're trying to do.
Dude?
Come on with it.
Buddy.
Come on with it.
You're foolish, my nigga.
Damn it.
Well, damn. Now it's gonna get interesting right now. Let's fucking go. 3-game winning streak. What you got, snapped. Big dog?
About to be fucking
cookies right now. Cookies. Yes, sir.
All right. Damn, bro. Fucking idiot. I'm fucking idiot. You know what? It's the angle. It's the angle of the board. You know, it's just weird. You know,
I didn't get that view right there.
Fucking weird. That's what it is. Damn. Jeez,
that's funny.
Ugh. Terrible mistake.
Terrible.
Indeed.
Take that. You can't take anything else.
What you got, man? Damn. I have to resign. I don't know what else I could do. I'm getting smoked out here. Yikes. Let's see. Which one though? Which one you want to keep? Get my get back, bro. It's like boxing, man. When you get hit, you gotta get hit back. You gotta get yours back, man.
All right.
Taking one.
Yeah.
100%.
And hey, buddy. That one.
Can't believe I didn't see that shit with my queen. Oh, that's brutal.
Game changer, huh?
Brutal. Yeah, she's like everything. She's my
this
queen.
Game, queen is everything.
She's my queen.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. What you trying to do? I can't believe I did not see that. Fuck, bro. No timer and I'm still rushing. Problem.
Fucking there you go.
Yeah.
Check it up. Ooh. Now we start cooking right here. Alrighty.
Have him. Take him. Take him.
Yes, sir.
You can have him. Yes.
Can't this. Can't. Okay. Blood.
Beautiful.
Think this out again.
Yes, sir. Take another look. You got all the time in the world. Ain't no timer, man. What time are we at on the game? It should say on the camera. Damn.
44 minutes. What was your longest game on the podcast? Setting new records today.
Yeah. It's a thinking man's game, bro. Shit. Technically, a 30-minute game where each person has a 30-minute timer would be 60 minutes if everyone uses their time. So it's a long game.
Exactly.
And we don't want to lose.
Oh, yeah.
Neither of us want to lose.
Losing, so I'm going to do my best to win.
There you go.
If I was to do that, can't take that. I can't do that. Oh, but no, you can. If you were to take this, and with the night, listen to this.
God, I hate you so much.
That. Hear that. Check it up. Trying to make me go to this corner.
You can't go there. Bishop. Have some fun. No, one more. I think it was. Yeah, it was there. I'm drawing fumes here, so I ain't got shit to work with. So I'm gonna come at you hard. Is the winning streak over? This shit finally come to an end? I work a miracle here.
Put it. Take it. Put me in the corner. Ooh. I hope I didn't miss anything. Tough.
Very tough. This whole fucking situation is tough. I can get you on out a little bit. Come on with it.
Yeah.
Come on with it.
You think you got a chance at that? Wow. You're going to go for that?
Got me.
I need to get my king out there. The position.
Damn, I need another piece. I need a queen right now.
Struggling out here, running out of options. Running out of options, buddy. You didn't see what was coming, did you?
It's game. Good game.
No, you gotta play that. No, you can't. You really gotta do it right there.
Ain't too many mistakes, man.
You can't.
Win streak came to an end.
All good.
Pat yourself on the back for that. You got it.
I like that. I don't even deserve it. No, you still got a chance. That's the thing.
No way. With those two pieces, you have a queen on the board.
You'd be surprised.
3 head pieces. I probably, maybe, if I was good, I could probably like pull something out.
You can at least get a draw out of this easily.
I think you did it, man. You caught me slipping bad. I made some major mistakes. Fuck, man.
That's the thing with chess, right? It's like
you can't make any blunders.
Foolish mistakes will piss you off,
bro. And you can so easy to make a mistake. One simple move because you're not paying attention.
Yeah,
but that applies to life too. Like you gotta look at everything. If you don't look at everything, you're gonna miss something. Because if you miss something, you get fucked. Like I just got fucked. So.
That's why you gotta look at pros and cons at every move, and that's everything in life, right? Pros and cons.
Chessboard is life, man.
Exactly. There's one right there, and really just 2 bad moves. That's all you did. The queen and this rook right there.
Exactly, man. Those are major blunders. I mean, that literally ruined my game for me. But shit, it was still fun, man. And I appreciate you joining the podcast, game, bro. Long ass game. No, probably like 50 minutes to an hour. That was gonna be my longest one by far, bro.
And I was like, bro, I've never done a podcast before. I've never talked for this long. So I was like, what do I even talk to for this long? But
I mean, because you're passionate about the field and the industry,
you talk about,
it leads to long conversation. Right. And like I told you, if time flies by, you don't think time is going fast as it is, and then the next thing you know, it's been an hour.
When I saw those, I was like, hold on, that
just flies by, man. But thanks for coming on, bro.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you doing this.
Appreciate you having
always
us.
Good talking to you, brother.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. All right, we can go ahead and clock it.